Hello, I am Tarık Toros. Welcome to What's Happening in Turkey. In my last broadcast, I said Turkey was heading for a stormy autumn. What I didn't expect was for the storm to break at the very start of September. As soon as the courts returned from summer recess, the judiciary, long under the government's control, moved directly against Turkey's main opposition party, the CHP. The CHP won the 2024 local elections and, for the past year and a half, has led in nearly every opinion poll. Meanwhile, Istanbul's Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, widely seen as the CHP's most likely presidential candidate and someone consistently polling ahead of President Erdogan, has already spent 5.5 months behind bars. The ruling AKP has been in power for almost 23 years. Since Erdogan assumed the presidency in 2014, he has consolidated authority to an unprecedented degree. The judiciary is now considered an extension of the presidential palace. The very same judiciary that jailed Istanbul's mayor has now moved to bring the CHP itself under state control. Recent court rulings have targeted the party's leadership, aiming to unseat Özgür Özel, who was elected at the last Congress. Erdogan has a long record of reshaping the opposition to suit his own agenda. Over the years, he has forced parties and leaders across the political spectrum into submission. So it was unrealistic to expect him to quietly tolerate the rise of the CHP, now Turkey's biggest party. This week's developments have split the CHP in two, while judicial maneuvers cleared the path of a change in leadership. It has already gone down as one of the most dramatic weeks in modern Turkish politics. The end of multi-party politics? On Tuesday, 2nd of September, shocking news broke. Following a secret investigation, an Istanbul court ruled that a state-appointed trustee would take over the CHP's Istanbul provincial leadership. It was a warning shot ahead of the party's main congress trial on 15th of September. The court reinstated Gürsel Tekin, a former CHP Istanbul chair, as trustee, a move seen as orchestrated through the judiciary. The CHP national leadership responded by expelling Gürsel Tekin, but it was too late. On 8th of September, he announced he would walk into the Istanbul headquarters and assume control in person. Gürsel Tekin is close to former CHP leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. Many now fear similar interventions will target the party's national headquarters in Ankara. According to insiders, officials are already bracing for this outcome, even keeping watch at party offices in case of police raids. The Supreme Election Council, constitutionally tasked with safeguarding elections and parties, has rejected all CHP appeals. The precedent is clear. From now on, a court ruling can decide not just the leadership of a provincial branch, but of a national party itself. The regime crosses the final line. Turkey has seen trusteeship before, but never like this. 10 years ago, the first case targeted the Koza İpek Group, a major media and business conglomerate. Since then, hundreds of companies, media outlets, and municipalities have been seized through trusteeship. It became the standard method for consolidating power. But now, for the first time, that same mechanism is being applied to a political party, Turkey's main opposition. This shows just how far Erdogan's regime is willing to go to re-engineer the political landscape. Crushing the opposition. The stakes go beyond party leadership. New party option? If Özel's team breaks away, founding a new party looks nearly impossible. The Interior Ministry, controlled by Erdogan, must authorize it. Then it must pass through the Supreme Election Council before joining an election. Financial chokehold. The CHP has relied on nearly $100 million in state funding over the past 2 years. If trustees take control, that money, and thus the lifeblood of the opposition, will fall into the regime's hands. Organizational purge. Trustees will replace local and provincial officials with loyal figures, eliminating existing networks. In short, Opposition is being neutralized not at the ballot box, but in the courtroom. Toward a one-party state, scholars describe Turkey as sliding from competitive authoritarianism into full authoritarianism. What we are witnessing now may be the final step, the collapse of multi-party democracy. The government could use the turmoil inside the CHP to push long-discussed constitutional changes through parliament, then call a snap election. This would secure Erdogan's system even beyond his presidency and extend his personal rule under a regime openly edging toward totalitarianism. Meanwhile, Turkey's economic crisis deepens. Inflation remains among the highest in the world, eroding daily life. The government knows it can no longer rely on free elections to secure legitimacy. And the people, restless, hopeless, and leaderless, are losing faith. Voting for voters now says they will boycott elections altogether. Democracy has collapsed. This autumn began with a shock. Breaking news arrives almost by the hour, forcing us to revise our assessments daily. Turkey has entered a dizzying, unpredictable period. For those watching from abroad, Turkey is Europe's second largest country, a NATO member, and a key partner in migration and security. Its collapse into one-party authoritarianism will have consequences far beyond its borders. I am Tarık Toros, and you've been watching What's Happening in Turkey. See you next week.